When creating an antagonist, we often think of something very simple, making them strong, impressive, and threatening. And yet, you can have a powerful antagonist, and still, your story lacks tension. Because the problem isn't their strength, it's their impact. An antagonist isn't there just to exist in the story. They're there to disrupt it. If their presence doesn't change anything, if they don't create visible consequences, then they become secondary, no matter how powerful they are. And that's why so many antagonists are forgettable, even in well-crafted stories. In this video, we'll discuss the 4 fundamental qualities your antagonist must possess, specific elements that don't just make them interesting, but ensure they truly influence your story. Because a good antagonist doesn't just exist, they make their presence felt. The first key, and probably the most important one, is that your antagonist must pose a real threat. But be careful, a real threat doesn't mean powerful. You can create an extremely strong character, and yet one who is completely harmless to the story. But in that case, why bother? Because they don't do anything that actually impacts the story. They're there, they exist, but they don't change anything. A real threat is an antagonist who creates visible consequences. Their presence must alter the narrative. Specifically, they must cause the protagonist to lose something, create problematic situations, or force difficult decisions. If your protagonist can move forward without being truly affected by them, then your antagonist isn't a threat. They're just window dressing. Just a quick reminder, if you're interested in creating or developing original manga, or if you'd like me to do a brief analysis of your manga in a short format, check out CollabManga. Be sure to watch until the end of the video for more details. This is where many authors go wrong. They introduce an antagonist, but they wait too long before giving him a real impact. They save him for later, for a climax, for a climactic moment. But by doing this, they create a narrative void, where conflict doesn't really exist, because nothing disrupts the protagonist. A good antagonist doesn't have to be dangerous in theory. He must be dangerous in practice. The reader must see the consequences of his actions, feel his influence, and understand that he can actually cause the protagonist to lose, and it is precisely this ability to impact the story from the very beginning that transforms an antagonist into a true narrative driving force. The third key is that your antagonist must be connected to the protagonist, not just opposed to them. An antagonist can have a clear goal, be dangerous, and yet have no real impact if they have no genuine connection to the hero. In that case, the conflict exists, but it remains superficial. We understand the confrontation, but we don't feel it. This connection can take many forms, but it must create a direct bond. Whether it's a clash of ideologies, a shared past, or conflicting goals, it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that the conflict between them isn't interchangeable. If you can replace the antagonist without changing anything, then that connection doesn't exist. It is this bond that transforms a conflict into a personal confrontation. The protagonist is no longer facing a problem. They are facing someone who challenges their way of acting, their vision, or what they stand for. And from that point on, every interaction takes on greater significance, because it no longer concerns only the outcome, but what it means for them. Without this connection, the conflict remains external. With this connection, it becomes internal. The protagonist is no longer merely opposed, they are challenged, and it is precisely this tension between the two characters that makes the antagonist memorable, far more so than their strength or their role in the story. The fourth key is that your antagonist must exert constant pressure. Even when he's not on screen, he must continue to exist through his actions, their consequences, or his influence. Otherwise, he disappears from the narrative, and with him, the tension. As soon as an antagonist is no longer felt, the conflict collapses. This is a very common mistake. The antagonist appears, creates a climactic moment, then disappears for several chapters, and during that time, the story continues, but without any real opposition. The reader has nothing left to fear, nothing left to anticipate, and very quickly, interest wanes. Constant pressure does not mean constant presence. The antagonist does not need to be physically present to exist. They can act indirectly, through the consequences of their actions, the influence they exert, or the decisions they force upon other characters. It is this continuity that keeps the conflict alive. The protagonist must constantly navigate an environment shaped by the antagonist. Their choices must be influenced, their actions constrained, and their options limited. And as long as this pressure is sustained, every scene retains a sense of tension, even without direct confrontation. A good antagonist never truly disappears. They remain present, even in their absence. And it is precisely this omnipresence that transforms a mere adversary into a true narrative force, capable of sustaining interest throughout the entire story. Ultimately, a good antagonist is not defined by their power, their design, or even their role in the story. What truly matters is their impact. An interesting antagonist is one who acts, who disrupts, and above all, who transforms the narrative with every appearance. Without that, they may be impressive, but they will remain forgettable. A real threat, a clear goal, a connection to the protagonist, and constant pressure. These four elements are not optional. They are fundamental. If even one is missing, the conflict loses its intensity, and very quickly, the story becomes flat. But as soon as they come together, even a simple antagonist becomes effective. Because an antagonist isn't there just to oppose the protagonist from time to time. They're there to structure the narrative. They create obstacles, force choices, and give the protagonist direction. And without them, the story doesn't disappear, but it loses what makes it interesting. A good antagonist doesn't just exist. They command attention from start to finish. To delve deeper into CollabManga, as explained earlier, it helps boost the visibility of various manga projects through several tools made available on the platform. The first of these is a sponsorship system built into the site. Any content creator can sign up on the site and list their various sponsorship options. Meanwhile, as authors, you can benefit from the visibility provided by the content creator to promote your work. The second tool is the various social media accounts linked to CollabManga, where chapters will be posted along with some quick analysis videos. I myself will be able to promote them on this channel, etc. And finally, there's the mobile app, currently under development. It will be a mobile version of the site, but directly accessible via the various app stores. As a result, thanks to the various notifications and the fact that the site is in app form, you'll benefit once again from greater visibility. And of course, CollabManga features a full catalog, a messaging system, and a suggestions page to help you out if you're stuck for ideas. Obviously, all of this is only possible if my site manages to attract a large number of users, whether they're authors, screenwriters, content creators, or just readers. But that's why I'm telling you about it here. So if you know anyone, or are yourself, who wants to create their own manga or has already created some, please feel free to direct them to CollabManga